Knuckles Miniseries Issue 3. The Chaotix are also able to talk normally while brainwashed, their personalities intact and everything. That was useless to interject. I thought they'd just remain menacingly silent while fighting with Knuckles. It's also a good thing that the Chaotix aren't seriously hurt or injured from Archimedes' fire breath and Knuckles' knuckle spikes. However, the fight is rendered pointless as Interject makes him get knocked out with magic and defeats him effortlessly. What is the point of having Interject remind us of his backstory again? Well, waste of comic space. This is just padding, really. It's like they knew the story was too short and needed to pad it out. Well, they were really worried that the readers didn't read the previous issues. And why did Knuckles even try to make Interject think he and Archimedes were just mirages, when Interject hadn't been able to be made delusional by the desert heat? He's too powerful and stuff for that. I hope that was just a snarky remark, he didn't actually think he'd fool him with that. As Chekhov's gun, Archimedes creates a puff of smoke like a magician again to evade Interject. And Interject reveals in the process that the reason Knuckles had passed out was because Interject had prevented him from breathing. Like the evil airbender in The Legend of Korra Season 3. So if he could do that, why didn't he keep him from ever breathing again? Because then there'd be no story, of course. So the villain's forced to act like an idiot, because otherwise he'd win. And after Interject gets up, Knuckles reveals to him that the two of them are directly related. Dimitri is his great uncle. I assume by that he meant great, etc. uncle, since Dimitri lived over 1,000 years ago. Otherwise, Knuckles would be pretty old. While he and Dimitri fight, it's revealed that the fire ants were creating an escape route for them to get away from him. And confusingly, it's also revealed that the fire ants had nothing to do with launching the Citadel into space, even though that was implied earlier, silently. Knuckles and his friends don't know why the city disappeared, or why Dimitri didn't know about the oasis in the desert. And we finally see the black cloak guy watching them on the monitor again, thankfully he wasn't forgotten about, saying that he's proud of Knuckles for helping him get rid of Interject, revealing that he was the one who had helped them. I knew he was a good guy. Also, it's really great that they have a subversive thing where he looks like a bad guy because of his black cloak and watching him through a monitor, but he's actually a good guy. So that's brilliant writing, honestly. And it's revealed that under that cloak is an echidna who looks a little too much like Knuckles, even for someone who feels that the echidnas usually look different enough. Seriously, I know he's his father, but I like his design better when his hood is up. You could at least have his muzzle look show wrinkles or something to make him look more aged. Natural opposites? How are the fire ants and echidnas natural opposites? They're both associated with digging through the ground, aren't they? Plus, they both seem to have fire powers, and Knuckles in the games at least shows fire powers, so... But yeah, this guy is Knuckles' father, so his idea of looking after his son was spying on him from a distance through plot convenience monitors. Presumably ones that had invisible security cameras all over the island. Okay, that doesn't really change the fact that he abandoned his son. Sure, he can get Knuckles' help if he finds him with his broken leg through spying on him, but he's still not physically and emotionally there for him in times of need like a father should be. So how dare he try to preach like he knows what a good father should do when he abandoned his son for no good reason? Why couldn't he just tell Knuckles, "Hey Knuckles, I'm going to leave to try to test you on whether you're going to be a better guardian, just like I've always been doing all my life, so it's not really a big deal if I tell you this." No, let's just leave him. I admit, I do think the friendship between Knuckles and Archimedes is pretty sweet. It's cute seeing them being friends with a tiny ant instead of trying to crush them. It's ironically a much more natural feeling friendship than Knuckles has with the Chaotix, where he just instantly started being a part of their team and considering them to be his friends that he'd want to go out of his way to save from kidnapping, purely because that's how it was in the video game. Here, we have him and Archimedes warming up to each other. Although I don't understand why Archimedes used to think so little of Knuckles. Nor do I understand why everyone thinks Interject can't just teleport back home from outer space. If the power of the Chaos Emeralds is infinite, being launched in outer space with his fortress should just be a minor inconvenience. He should be able to just teleport back home instantly. The only reason he doesn't is because the writers don't want him to. It's like 06 with time travel. The biggest problem with Interject, aside from his lack of a proper fruiting excuse, is that he's such an overpowered character that the writers have to make him arbitrarily not do things that any realistic person would do to have them win and act like an idiot just for the sake of having him lose. Is this how it's always going to be with villains with magical powers? A villain that's a living Chaos Emerald was a really cool concept. He had the potential to be a cool, magic-focused opposite to the industrialist Eggman. But it was wasted just like that. Yes, I know he's coming back, and what a comeback. But for now, all he did was brainwash the Chaotix to have a short, pointless fight with Knuckles and create a city that Knuckles effortlessly reached him in. The desert sucked, but no more than any other desert. I was expecting more trials and tribulations than that. And again, why didn't he send Knuckles to some... Ugh. This miniseries wasn't horrible, or incredibly frustrating, or even soul-drainingly boring like I was kind of expecting it to be. It was just empty and lacking. It doesn't really feel like much happened here. The Knuckles miniseries plot is really basic, with Knuckles reaching a fortress, going through desert, and then fighting and defeating Dimitri. That's literally all that happens. The story then tries to pad itself out with repeating exposition you already know, which was most of the second issue, and having Knuckles have a pointless fight with the Chaotix. It's only long enough to last 3 issues from padding. At least it explains Archimedes, why he played hide-and-seek with Knuckles and who the Black Robe guy is, and saved the Chaotix, resolving a whole bunch of plot threads from a whole bunch of issues earlier. But I still don't understand why, in-universe, Archimedes couldn't have honestly told Knuckles what he needed to do from the start, instead of having him wander aimlessly until he would figure out he had to go to Mount Fate. What, to test his intelligence? A guardian doesn't have to be smart, he just has to be strong. Strong enough to defend the Emerald. And even then, even if Knuckles turned out to be a terrible guardian, then what? Who would be picked to replace him? Well, his father, I guess, but after he dies, then what? Knuckles will have to inherit not the throne, but Knuckles will have to inherit the guardian job anyways. Really, the biggest disappointment with the story is that it didn't bother giving Dimitri a fruity excuse for why he was evil, despite having an entire miniseries dedicated to him. I'd even settle for the Chaos Emeralds having made him evil just to be dicks, just because they're Chaos Emeralds. I guess Interjack has to move in order to cast a spell with his power, so if he was crushed under rubble, he wouldn't be able to move. And being still alive for 1,000 years of being crushed under rubble would be boring enough to make him go even more mad, but the problem is that he doesn't seem any more insane than he was before it. Anyways, I'm glad I finally read this miniseries and put it behind me. Once again, the miniseries wasn't nearly as frustrating or boring to me as some of the regular issues, like the nonsensical James Bond parody was way worse than this. But it still wasn't that great, and I don't think Knuckles needs a miniseries to himself. I don't think he needs a moment in the sun like this, because I take it for granted that he's able to fight well. It's not exciting like with Tails and Bunny. Next up, we're moving on to issue 37.